Welcome to I Am Audible. Before I begin on today's book, please click on the subscribe button, and also press the notification bell for any new updates, added chapters, or just another new book or stories to be heard. Welcome back as we continue on with our book reading of I Am is Inside Out. In today's chapter 9, it is about exploring the realm of confusion and misinterpretation. Join me on this journey of unraveling complexities. So let's begin. As the storm approached, Flutterbye's intuition guided her to a safe haven at the base of a tree on the outskirts of a grassy field. Nestled there, she seemed prepared to remain cocooned in her cozy spot, anticipating the likelihood of being chilled by the impending tempest. In contrast, I found myself skimming the treetops in the forest below. This perspective revealed a limitation. I couldn't easily spot the alluring nectar-filled meadows or the grand colony trees that would offer shelter. The distant rumblings of the approaching storm acted as a reminder, prompting me to address my own immediate needs, finding a dry refuge and a source of sustenance. With the assurance that Flutterbye was safely ensconced, I embarked on an exploratory journey. Relying on my heightened sense of smell, I followed the intoxicating fragrances of sweet nectar and ripe fruits carried on the breeze that swept through the lower parts of the forest. Standing against the breeze, my eyes followed its path, leading me deeper into the woods beyond the distant trees that bordered our open clearing. Eminent hues perched atop the towering trees hinted at the presence of vibrant fairy dwellings, possibly spacious enough to welcome travelers like me who sought refuge from the elements. The largest tree in the colony forest had a unique structure halfway up its main branch, so I followed the scent to that tree. The building was open at the front with a window as big as it was and without an ordinary entrance. Additionally, it featured a bench outside that could hold multiple fairies sitting side by side. Being placed next to a window for indoor views for casual conversations seemed odd and improper to me. But that was a very unusual situation. Inside the structure, close to the open window, fresh-eating petals had been carefully placed on top of mint leaves, together with a variety of beautiful nectars, juices and fruits. The open seed pod containers released the enticing scent of the juices. In the heart of the colony forest stood a majestic tree, the grandest of them all. I was drawn by a unique structure perched halfway up its towering main branch. Following the alluring scent, I reached this tree, where an intriguing sight awaited me. The structure was an open-fronted dwelling, its entrance as vast as the tree itself. A massive window stood in place of a conventional door, offering a clear view both in and out. Adjacent to the window, an unexpectedly spacious bench accommodated multiple fairies side by side. This unconventional placement, intended for casual conversations while gazing indoors, struck me as peculiar yet fitting given the extraordinary setting. Inside the dwelling, close to the open window, an array of delectable treats awaited. Fresh petals for consumption adorned a bed of mint leaves. A medley of nectars, juices, and fruits tempted the senses, housed in open seed pod containers that exuded their alluring fragrances. Hovering above the scene, I settled onto the bench, resting my elbows upon the wide window frame to better observe. From the depths of the open-fronted abode, a voice addressed me, affectionately referring to me as my early morning sweetie. Despite the use of the term sprite, a designation for a less advanced kind of fairy, I wasn't taken aback. The warmth in his tone and friendly demeanor made it clear that it was simply his way. Shifting my stance, I responded, "I'm a traveler seeking refuge from the impending rain. The enticing aromas of your delightful cuisine drew me in. Your accent betrays your origin, a place I, despite my extensive travels, have never ventured to," he remarked. With Eden, my voice assumed a melodious cadence, weaving emotion and gravity into each word to mirror the profound significance they held. The array of delectable meal choices delighted me, and Eden, with his acute sense of hearing, caught every nuance. Honesty prevailed as I spoke, discarding lyrical flair, I hail from a distant realm, a place that perhaps hasn't graced your ears. His gaze was fixed, absorbing my words before responding. Ah, one of those hidden treasures tucked away, seldom traversed by our awareness. A closer appraisal followed, as he dissected my appearance and demeanor. You're not akin to a denizen of a modest hamlet nurturing blossoms. Your poise exudes refinement, your gestures are steeped in elegance, attire meticulously chosen, and that necklace, it defies categorization. You're no rustic colony sprite, most likely, you emerge from a sophisticated, secluded haven favored by the affluent and illustrious. The terms affluent and elite, unfamiliar to me, hovered at the edge of comprehension, yet he preempted my inquiries by interjecting, "What shall you indulge in?" The eagerness in his query was palpable, radiating his delight in assisting. The artistry with which he presented the meal bespoke his boundless dedication and love for his craft. Volunteering information in the manner of the Fae, he brought a smile to my lips. A serving of columbine nectar, 3 orbs of raspberry delight, and the fragrance of the large yellow pod whispers of succulent juice. "Some, please." "Your benevolence warms my spirit," I expressed. "Generosity," he echoed, straightening with conviction, and continued, "This expanse holds considerable value, and entrance demands its toll. Nothing manifests devoid of consequence." As I engaged in his conversation, a series of unfamiliar terms began to pepper his speech, creating holes in my comprehension. To bridge these gaps, I decided to address the first unknown term head-on, curiously asking, "Could you please elaborate on the meaning of real estate?" His response held a tint of bewilderment, and he retorted, "Are you indicating that you're not acquainted with the concept of real estate?" Perplexed but undeterred, I tilted my head slightly, the morning chill causing a shiver to run through me. With a cheerful chirp, I embraced the fresh surroundings. "Your abode exudes a captivating uniqueness, unlike any I've encountered before," he said. "Where I live is somewhere. This building houses my shop. I own this particular region on the tree to which it is linked, which is real estate. My store was secured and established here with a significant amount of savings. With the money, I can buy food items that I then give to fairies that are hungry. This maintains the area and uses the money earned to meet the needs of my family." He told me this story to make sure I understood why he wasn't allowed to freely share food with me. I paid close attention to what he said, even though I wasn't familiar with some of the terminology. I made a mental association between each word and a finger as a solution to this. I reached out towards him as he finished, carefully touching and releasing each word it was related with. "Could you define purchase, sell, buy, fees, pay, currency, and store?" That I still had my finger-coded vocabulary made me happy. He asked, a little surprised, "Don't you know anything about business?" I took close attention to what he said because I noticed that he omitted the term business, which I was familiar with. I pointed to him and asked, "Business," while extending my arm. He carefully tried to explain the words as he was confused. "Consider that I desire something you have, and you want something I have. We trade them if we both agree that they are worth the same. The act of paying involves buying something you want and paying to take control of it. The person who has what you want sells it to you for the price that both parties decided was a fair transaction. Through this procedure, the object is bought and becomes yours. Giving the agreed-upon value is considered spending, and using all the traded cash constitutes spending." I replied with dedication, "I know what the word spent means. It occurs when fairies use food as fuel, and after the food has gone through us, the energy is released. This leftover food is known as spent fairy food." In response to my justification, he laughed and replied, "When you buy something, you're paying for it or providing the agreed-upon value. A transaction occurs when you buy what you want from someone and they sell it to you. As I stated, colony cash rewards are used in a lot of deals here. Do you understand the idea of an exchange of equal value? I believe so, I replied. I had a friend who wanted to play with my doll when I was a groundling. Since I knew she would enjoy it as much as I did, I would lend it to her without hesitation. In return, she would give me her doll. I didn't feel lonely without a doll when she played with her own. She would express her appreciation by adorning my doll with flower petals and fragrant sprigs before returning it. In return, while mine was with her, I would make doll accessories for her. It seemed fair to swap decorations and delight with each other. He seems puzzled by my explanation. He replied kindly, saying, "Here, everything is owned and requires payment or fees." I asked, "Fees?" while pointing at it with my finger up. Fees are different. They are payments for items you have already purchased and wish to keep, or for items you desire to use but do not possess. The cost of the fairies who handle fee payment is also covered by the fee. As a business fairy, you can ask your buddy to pay a price to use your doll and perhaps a fee to take care of her doll while she plays with yours. I confessed my confusion and said, I felt the delight of sharing our mutual appreciation and the happiness of giving pleasure were important enough for our transaction. Did you pay the tree when you paid the fee currencies for your tree space? I asked, puzzled as to why a tree would need rewards in colony cash. He took token discs that represent colony money out of his pocket. This is how we pay. Bigger tokens are valued more. Fae people pay more at shops than they would if they had gone shopping alone. I must spend more money than the initial cost of the food to buy, prepare, and sell it. My family is able to make enough money in this way to meet its basic needs and pay more for goods than other people did. This therefore makes it possible for those people to pay for their basic needs and perhaps even come to my restaurant to eat. I was unable to quite get it, but I knew that if I wanted to join, I had to know the system of his colony. How can everything be owned, you may ask? I requested while attempting to put the puzzle together. When the founders of our colony arrived from far-off regions, they formed an illogical line around this huge valley, claiming everything within. This border covered all colonies, past and present, as well as unknown assets, creating a single colony nation, he said. The colony nation therefore owns everything. Residents are likewise regarded as property, needing citizen fees and taxes. We have to buy low and sell high because of ownership and fees in order to save money for needs like taxes. It is an exchange cycle. I asked, as a newcomer, can I make a line border and claim items, in order to figure out if drawing a line would result in claiming things? No, he responded, because everything has already been claimed. I looked and expressed my dissatisfaction, pointing out how unfair the claim game was. I suggested that the colony nation's fake discovery line unfairly evicted the valley's original residents. Given that my finding was more recent, I believed it was unfair that I couldn't join the game. He made an effort to explain, saying that most of the people were tribal members without colonies or developed borders. Because they followed the seasonal cycles of fruiting and blossoming, they were regarded as wanderers. I argued that it was only natural to follow these cycles. Of course, fairies would also follow the same patterns every year, visiting their favorite locations along the route for ages. A colony was still a colony even if it moved, especially if it continued to occupy the same areas. It puzzled me why those making claims of the colony nation did not understand this. The migratory range of the wanderers should have been regarded as their rightful claim. I relaxed my shoulders and sat back on my heels. I expressed my disappointment and said that it wasn't in the spirit of fairness that fairies maintained to deny some fair guidelines that others enjoyed. I was used to puzzle games, pursuit games, hide-and-seek games, as well as other inclusive games. Claiming wasn't a game I was aware of. I raised my head in disappointment at the unfairness of the game and said, I don't like the colony's unequal rules for the discover-claim game, and I especially don't like the layout of the exchange game. Your trading game has been described as a kind of repetitive loop. A game with continuous fee hikes is not, however, a sustainable or fair cycle for the players. A true cycle moves everyone in the same direction, like a smoothly rotating wheel, then returns to its starting point. Your strategy causes a spiral that continues to expand, resembling the whorls of a garden snail's shell. The twisted shape of a snail expands uncontrolled. The bigger end eats more, leaving the smaller, inner whorls with less. An imbalance results from converting a snail shell into a rolling wheel through its central whirl. The fee-based game in your colony grows in a similar cycle, resulting in excessive rewards and an escalating unfair system. The larger outer whirl of a wheel puts everything else off balance. I twisted my head to show my growing anger and crossed my arms. In my universe, everyone plays the games and likes them equally, which results in similarly equal benefits. It amazes me why some people like to play unfair games. He took a moment to think about what I had just said regarding fair games. I awaited his example with patience while taking delight in a transient sunbeam that peeked through the clouds. I opened my arms and leaned in, concerned for Flutterbye's safety but enjoying his playfulness. We appreciate you sharing the games from your colony nation. The Discover Claim games weren't my cup of tea, but I like picking up new terms. You are excellent at describing them. I marked Flutterbye's shelter and said I had to see how she was doing. I took off from his store and went for Flutterbye's tree. She was comfortably tucked away as the storm grew closer. I understood that the coming storm would prevent her from traveling today. I arrived at the colony quickly in search of a place to spend the night. I looked about the houses in search of a good guest room, noticing their unique designs. As I went to the treetop, I looked for handprints on bigger buildings, which suggested creative people with stories to tell. Suddenly, there were no large treetop homes with visible hand impressions. I used my sense of smell to seek direction, but I came up empty-handed, a puzzling result. Well, that is it for today's reading. Click on the like button if you enjoyed listening to I Am Is Inside Out. If you want to continue to the next episode, just click the link below. And I hope to see you soon.